Okay. We're back.
Yes, we are.
It's fucking Wednesday night. We're in the theater space.
In some ways, we never left.
We were here before, and we are here still. To meet. For the ASMR folks. We just watched the 1997 Blockbuster thriller.
You say Blockbuster.
The Jackal starring Bruce Willy. I'll tell you. We can start with that if you'd like to.
Okay, tell me.
What's the budgie?
I wanted to know how much it made.
Yeah, we'll get to that, but you got to start with the budgie.
This is $1997.
$1997.
Right? This is not prorated for. Okay, the budgie was $65 million.
Ooh, that's a really good guess. $60 million. You went over, but really good.
That's pretty good.
What do you think the box office was?
The box was
what it made. What it do?
So this came out in 97. I was 14. And on my radar were a bunch of movies where shit blew up.
This movie was definitely on my radar, but I did not see it.
This movie was not on my radar because it was more of a drama than an action.
Interesting. I feel like it was marketed to me as an action film, but at 14, I don't think I was allowed to see it yet.
I'm going to say, so are we talking domestic?
I just have box office. That's all I'm getting from Wikipedia here. So I think it's probably worldwide.
Okay, domestic, I'll say.
But remember, this is China being the biggest market.
Yeah, domestic, I'll say 100 mil. International, I'll say 135.
It was 160, so 159.3 million worldwide.
Okay.
It earned 54.9 million in the U.S. and Canada. So 100 mil of that was external to the U.S., not Russia, obviously, because this is the period of time when every movie, the bad guy is just Russia. It did not. It was critically not good.
What are the
critics said?
Scores?
Critics said no good. They said.
What about Ebert? Did he give it?
Let's go. Let's find out. We're doing this on the live.
What's the IMDb? What's the RT?
Roger Ebert, 1.5 out of 4 stars. Glum, curiously flat thriller about a man who goes to great deal of trouble in order to create a crime that anyone in the audience could commit more quickly and efficiently. I feel like that's our critique of the TV show sometimes, where you're just like, which did kind of happen in the TV show where the guy almost just walked up and almost just shot him. Surely there must be an entry point somewhere along the famous 3,000-mile border that would attract less attention than the finish line of a regatta.
I said that about an hour ago.
You did. To be sure, the Jackal, for it is he, has the money to buy the boat. He is charging $70 million to assassinate the head of the FBI, half now, half payable on completion.
We talked earlier that the author took a look at this.
The author watched the film and said, "You please take my name off of this film."
Was it after he watched the film?
I think
or after
so.
He read the script.
I think it was after he saw it, or while he was involved with it. Which,
and we knew going in, so I was a little bit surprised when in the first half hour it was a fairly faithful adaptation, just sort of lifted up and put into a different time and space.
Yeah, I think it missed a few of the thing that made the first movie and the book so exciting was the first assassination attempt, or the successful. Well, in the book, non-successful.
That was an exciting, that grabbed the attention.
But that got you excited about all of it. And the amount of detail they went into about this realistic thing that happened was very cool. This movie misses all of that. That first scene in the club is not very interesting.
No.
Doesn't have a whole lot of stakes at all. And I don't think it really gives the movie much at all, except for these are the players. It tells you who the players are. It's a very John Wick. This is the bad guy, and now he wants revenge because you killed his brother.
I want to return to that in a bit, but the whole script, I thought it started off very faithful, a very faithful adaptation, and just
in the sense that they hired a.
And continually went off the rails. It reminded me of just an idea where a guy sits down in one night to write the script, but he does so with like a half liter of of bourbon or whatever, and just continues to take pulls on it. And it just the longer we went through the movie, the more it diverged from the source material, and the longer and the more it did not make sense to the character, both in the book, in the original film, and in the earlier part of the movie.
I did not find this movie so egregious that I would take my name off of it, but I understand why he did it, and I said this to you while we were watching. I get why he did it, because it was not his story at all after a while. It very quickly, all of a sudden, it just wasn't. I could see why he was like, no, I don't want anything to do this. Not in the sense that it was like, this is freaking awful, because it obviously was not a good movie, but I would not call it. In 1997, there was a whole lot more hot trash out there than I'd put this film. There were some entertaining pieces, at least, to this. There was a very good cast. Sidney Poitier, Bruce Willy, obviously. We had our Irish accent from our guy. From Richard Gere, J.K. Simmons, and of course the supporting actress of the year, whose name I can't remember. Bruce Willis, I thought actually was great in this movie. I liked his portrayal. I didn't like the character, but I liked the acting that went into the lines he was given, if that makes sense.
Okay, sure.
I thought he was charismatic. I thought his representation of the Canadian was hilarious for 1997. I thought he definitely got into each character.
The Ed Red did a little bit better, but he did his Bruce Willis best. Mm-hmm. He did a good Bruce Willis. Grading on the Bruce Willis curve, he did an excellent job. Sure.
I would even grade, but see, I would grade that more on a 1997 curve. Okay, and like what was, sure. Yeah. Like, I don't think Ed Red would be a successful actor in the 1990s. Like,
not for this role, and not for what they were what they were going for. Sure.
But I really, really enjoyed Jack Black in this. I thought it was absolutely not at all what the book is, because the book, every character is, this guy's really good at his job, and then the one character in the book who gets it is the
forger in the book
gets
for more
it.
Money, and Jack Black did the same. So they incorporated a couple of different characters there, and I thought he did When was the first time that you remember seeing Jack Black and saying, "Oh, that's a guy that I remember"?
Oh, that's a good question, because
I'll do a quicker answer while you think. Yeah. Mine was High Fidelity, which I looked up while we were looking at this. Was 2000. He was in Tenacious D before that, in I think 99, 98, something like that. But before this movie, he was in a ton of shit with just bit parts. He was in Waterworld as the pilot.
Wouldn't know that.
He had 50 credits before this as just random people in stuff.
I know there's more that I saw him in before, but the most memorable I can think of him is when he's in School of Rock.
That was after.
No, and it's way after. And obviously there are things I know him from before then. It's just funny that that's the first one I think of is yeah, there's got to be School of Rock was 2003, so yes, very close. Tenacious D was way before then, so I'd already seen him in Tenacious D. I'm trying to think of what I would have seen him in before because he was showing up in all sorts. Well, Shallow Hal was before then, and that was like
after,
the boom.
That was
like
after
the
High
boom
Fidelity.
of him.
High Fidelity was, I
That's
think,
2000.
in my head, his first breakout role.
It must be, but I feel like he was around before that. Anyways.
But look at his credits. He has a huge number of like movies you've absolutely heard of, but with just parts that you never like.
He was in Mr. Show for a while.
He's in The Cable Guy. He's in Waterworld, like I said.
Biodome.
Yeah,
he's in all sorts. Yeah, Waterworld is hilarious to me. I kind of want to see.
He doesn't have characters with names.
He was in Demolition Man.
Exactly.
This is amazing.
His filmography is he's in a total now of like 200.
He was in a classic
movies.
80s episode of The Fall Guy. Anyways, that's an incredible
early
piece to see.
Jabal's history might be its own pod.
It is. But I liked his character. It wasn't at all from the book. It wasn't at all from the original movie. But I liked the idea of this guy. I wish they had showed him to be a little bit more of the idiot savant that he was. Because he obviously made this very cool thing. I wish they'd showed him make it a little bit more. I know, but I guess when you're already coming in at 2 hours and 5 minutes, that's.
I want to see more about how he 3D printed a thing. You're really the only audience for that.
I'm the only guy who wants to find out what G code they typed in. Do we want to summarize the movie? I don't. It's a bad. No. There's not a lot that happens. I still don't get why he needed to befriend whoever the government official was that he hid out in his house. He just needed a place to hide his van in Washington, D.C. There's a million, like, that part wholly didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I think there were two different movies.
I think I don't like that they showed him to be a sadist. That part kind of bothered me, that he like had a twisted side to him.
Him yelling about how you can't protect your women.
Yeah, I much more enjoyed him as
to the character in the book.
Yeah, not that you should sympathize with the character or think he's a good person in the book, or even Eddie Redmayne, but I don't. But they are psychopaths, not
sociopaths.
Sure. They're not in it for like the torture.
Yeah.
Like they don't care about any of their victims, but they're not like going out of their way to cause harm.
But in the book, in the original movie, it was a guy going to his job and doing his job really well, and that was some peak dad porn. It wasn't somebody who enjoyed. And the whole movie tries to hinge on Richard Gere and Bruce Willis having an antagonistic relationship, which they gave a little bit of backstory here and there, but I never really felt as a lived-in blood feud that it ended the movie as.
Well, there are two pieces of that didn't land at all. One was that they waited forever to tell us why he hated this guy, and it was that he set him up for a deal, and it ended up with his pregnant girlfriend losing their kid, which I get, but it took so long, and it didn't. As you rightfully pointed out, the actress was not that great that played Richard Gere's love interest, and so I didn't really feel any care for that character or their relationship at all. In fact, every time they went to that part of it, it made no sense and it didn't matter. Like, they went off to go talk to her right off the bat when Richard Gere got out of prison, when he already said, I know what he looks like, I've met him. So they don't even need to talk to her anymore, and the information he got from her was nothing. So that character just didn't matter to the story at all.
Yeah, I really would not be surprised if tomorrow we Googled it and found that they had two different scripts, one an adaptation of the movie and one a different but similar type of story, and the studio heads got together and said, okay, we want to make this movie, we want to do it under this IP, and we need to slice these together, because there were so many things that were so completely out of order. The guy that he seduces, you already brought up. The Isabella storyline, you brought up as well. It was a movie with so many plot turns that made absolutely no sense. Yeah. You read off the regatta one. He can get across the border in
anywhere in Canada,
anywhere he wants.
From two people who've lived very near the border for a very long time.
In our experience, you can walk across.
There's a lot of places you can walk across.
Within the movie, within the story that they're telling, you can just boat across, and it's an honor system to go up and report yourself. But he decides to pop into some giant race that everybody has heard of, and somebody at the
somehow gonna hide
can recite where they start and end from. It's so very famous.
They couldn't just stop the 50 boats of this regatta one by one on the other side and be like, "You're all gonna report." The other thing that I thought really missed about this him versus Richard Gere is that they clearly meant them to both be rival sharpshooters or rival snipers, and they never took any time to explain how either of them are good at shooting, because they never showed Bruce Willis do any sort of...
Gere shoots the...
He shoots the camera off, but that's the first time. But you have to establish him earlier. You have to establish him as this guy, and it's these two guys who are clearly the best of the thing. And that's, I think, what was so cool about the book, is that it's this detective that is trying to find out who the Jackal is. He's very good at his job. He's not good at shooting things. He's not good at like being, arg, I'm the man. Like I'm going to beat you in a hand-to-hand combat like situation. He's like, I'm just a detective who's just doing my job, and this guy is the guy who's like the excellent person at his job. I'm really bothered by the Hollywood need to have this giant gun that made absolutely zero sense, because you're trying to kill one target with no protection. He makes this big point to use depleted uranium ammo because it won't, like, nothing will get in its way, and he has a clear shot the whole time. There's no shield in his way. There's no wall. He's not shooting through armor. He's just, no, I need a gun that requires a van for me to drive all around Canada in, for some reason, back and forth 17 different times. Also, when did the van get there but not the gun? Is this another van that he bought?
If you really want to do,
I'm just now thinking, like, why did he need to cross the water?
Of the gun, how did it get off the boat?
Well, he hid the gun in the boat. We saw him hide the gun. We didn't see him hide the base. Was the base already on the van, and he needed to bring the gun there later again?
Get off the boat. We didn't see it go anywhere. It appears and it disappears, and it goes and it doesn't go.
He apparently sets up Richard Gere to shoot him in a very bad way. Like, Richard Gere's very convinced that he knew he was coming, which I kind of get, but I feel like if you're trying to set him up, don't set him up on this dock in this open area. Set him up in an alley or somewhere else. So I definitely agree with Ebert. He was not very good at his job. And I wish the things we got from the book and the things we got from the TV show were that they showed him doing his job, whether you somewhat agree with their methods are good or not. Bruce Willis never does any assassinating in the movie. He just kills people. He just commits a whole bunch of murder. But they never show him do a cool
assassin. It is not demonstrated. Yeah, he doesn't do any.
I would have rather wiped out the entire Richard Gere love story and taken all of that time to show him do an assassination before the movie started. And I would rather take out that entire intro scene where they establish this Russian lady who makes no sense at all to the movie, because they don't actually get any chemistry. They don't actually get any time to establish a romance. And use that first 15-minute scene where the Russian dude gets pissed off to show him commit some other assassination like he did in Africa, where he makes some sort of impossible shot and they establish him as this great killer who comes up with cool ideas.
This is what I'm saying. I think it was two different movies. There was also, so we're in a different part of the world. We're over closer to our part of the world, in fact, the U.S. and coming in from Canada. We're not over in Europe. I was kind of excited about that. I was kind of excited about a closer to home retelling of the story.
Sure.
Having gone through so many versions of this in Europe. Normally, I'm more excited for the far away version, shooting some interesting, different places that I'm not in. But we had that so often. I was kind of interested in what's the U.S. Canadian version of that. I was kind of disappointed that they didn't really use the scenery.
No, they definitely didn't do
studio shots for the Russia scenes.
Yeah.
And a couple of flybys past our most famous Washington, D.C. monuments, and then just the grimiest parts of Canada that they basically chose the Michigan version of Canada. I don't mean the Michigan, but like
industrial shots at Michigan. No. I mean
What is your least favorite state?
Oh. I know the state I care the least about, and it's not I have any anger against it, but it's New Mexico. And Jeff and I joke.
New Mexico is supposed to be lovely.
New Mexico is lovely, and I
really want to go.
That's why I'm saying.
I want to see those little cape buildings.
I'm literally not. I have nothing against New Mexico. It's just if New Mexico somehow just like slid off the map one day, it would be a couple weeks before someone was like, "Hey guys, I think New Mexico's gone." It would just be that's my point.
That's an old Idaho joke.
Is it?
Yes.
I did not know that. I don't know if I have a least favorite state. It's probably Florida, but I actually love
Florida's lovely.
I went to Florida and I loved Florida. That's just
I was in Tampa Bay. I thought it was wonderful.
All of West Texas. If you could split Texas, that's probably it. West Texas sucks ass.
Well,
I'll stand by that.
Mine is Michigan.
And the 5 people in West Texas can come at me for that.
Okay.
But
I was listening to I was listening to what's the problem?
I just love how you're always setting me up to make enemies. Like that's you're the beginning of the movie trying to set me up for a Jackal assassination.
I'm just trying to have a heart-to-heart conversation with you. I was listening to another pod that was talking about I don't remember what the show was or the movie was, but the guy was saying, "Hey, we're all telling the same story."
Okay.
At this point in our lives, we have made enough movies, we've watched enough movies that it is kind of the same broad strokes story. And the magic in the story is subverting those tropes or doing it in such an interesting way that you can't see the seams that you know are connecting all of these common story tropes together. Like you don't think about Joseph Campbell when you're watching episode 4 of Star Wars. You're just watching a kick-ass space adventure.
Yeah.
Where Luke Skywalker zip-zaps around and, becomes a Jedi. This movie, you could absolutely see the seams.
Yeah, I think you see all of it for exactly what it is. What was your favorite thing about the movie? Since we got to get somewhat positive.
I like when the car blew up. The speaker.
I like it when car blowed up.
The speaker shook.
They did
a lot. I like that. I like Bruce Willis. I liked his different costumes and his accents. That was cool.
I mentioned this before. The one good thing I saw in the gay relationship or the gay whatever it is in this story was that they played it straight, and I don't mean straight as in heterosexual, but they did not overly flamboyantly portray the like stereotypical gay characters to get the laugh, which is exactly what they do in the book written in the 70s. It was like play up that or write that character as a stereotype to give you like a giggle, and I don't think they did that at all in this movie. I thought that was very interesting to see in 1997.
It was still just sort of.
It made no sense. No, it
did not make sense for the.
I would
plot.
write that out of the plot for all reasons to the story. I just thought the portrayal of it to me was a very interesting take in the 1990s to not just be like makeup, thrown wrist, whole every gag you could come up with in the 90s. I did like the gun. I thought the gun was cool, but I don't think it was a good idea for the movie or like the plausibility of it. It was only done to like blow shit up. It made no sense. It just didn't make any sort of sense of why he would buy that gun for this thing.
Yeah.
It's the kind of gun you'd buy because you're trying to kill 100 people, and his whole thing was I need to kill one person.
Giant thing.
It's this huge gun. It came in a huge crate that he has to go pick up.
Compare that to the gun in the books, which you can hide in your
crutches.
Crutches, in the cast of your leg. It is. You go on an airplane with it.
Yeah.
You don't have to check it. This thing is coming in this giant ass.
There's nothing clever about it. Like, it's cool and why didn't he need to have a robot? He has this robot that drives the thing, but he's closer to the target than the gun is. It made zero sense.
My least favorite part was the hijackers. I don't understand where the hijackers came from. It seemed like we had a studio note that said, okay, we need some excitement at about the half-hour mark. Let's add in some sort of chase scene.
Do you think there was something more to that?
Maybe there's a larger cut, but that made absolutely no sense that all of a sudden these guys are on. See, this is an assassin who we don't know the identity of at the end of the movie when they bury him. When they have his entire corpse to test against.
You might be able to take 30 minutes out of the movie because that hijack scene was also him painting his van and stripping the color paint off of the van. I thought that was going to be... Yes, but... He just paints the car. That's the book, is he paints the car another color.
Because he's being chased. There's a reason for it.
But that's my point is, I thought what we were going to get is that he paints the van, and then they find him, and he strips off the paint to escape. Instead, it became, I paint the van, I go and I hide in a garage that for some reason has a pressure washer on the bottom floor. I pressure wash the paint off.
Washes at the bottom of hotel parking lots? I have never been
especially
all the way to
ones
the
with a
bottom
pressure
of
washer strong enough to strip new paint.
Yeah, that's quite the find.
Let's say he found this and he knew about it, and then he strips the paint off, and then clearly the paint is still running down the drain, which also doesn't make sense because the paint came off in pieces. It didn't come off and it didn't dissolve. It was like there would have been it would have been like a chameleon shedding itself all over the parking spot.
I love the idea that he can't drive this car in the rain. I love that.
So he strips the color off. This guy clearly notices it, so it ruins the entire point of that. And then they invent a poison that makes him vomit like colored foam. They don't even bring up that a dead body is found in the bottom of a parking structure at some point.
Right.
He doesn't go to move his van afterwards.
Here's where we leave the scene. The car is still parked exactly where it was, only there's a dead body.
One of the three hijackers is dead next to it. There's still two other hijackers looking for him.
And he's in his hotel room grabbing a couple of bags.
And yet they cut what I think probably were better scenes, which when he was talking to the forger, I almost guarantee you there was probably some better conversations there. Oh. They even talk about her having a kid in that very small scene.
You need to know the forger's kid's name?
I don't know, but I feel like there was I don't know. I feel like there could have been a more interesting human piece from those two talking than some of that. I don't know. But no, I agree. I think the jackers were the worst part. I forgot about them completely because they had nothing to do with any of the story at all.
And somehow the guy on the other end of the computer knew that they were hijackers too. It's like the hijackers knew about him and somebody else knew about the hijackers. I don't understand the hierarchy of the secrecy here. It's baffling. They're so good at their job that they could find this anonymous assassin that the U.S. government cannot identify again after they have his dead body with all of the various teeths and bones and DNAs and follicles that they could possibly want. But these hijackers have done it?
Yeah, and also, what are they hijacking? Just the gun?
Presumably the gun, but...
Yeah, I'm at a loss.
TLDR, not enough stuff blew up.
There was at least 10 minutes of sailing. They show him, they spent time to show him change the name of the boat and put a different flag up, and then a minute and a half of him sailing off with his auto sail, and then the regatta later where he's waving at people as he sails in.
Boat guy to boat guy, did that look like a floatable boat?
Floatable?
Yeah.
Like that boat would float?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, same to me.
It was a good boat. I like the boat.
Yeah, I also thought it looked like it could float.
I love a good boat scene, but it made no sense in this movie. Like in Top Gun Maverick, that's an extended boat scene, but it makes sense to the movie. This boat scene made no... It's... What do you want to bet that the director or the DP now owns that boat and they bought it with the budget of the movie? Like there's a $250,000 boat that was a chunk of that budget, and now it's like, yeah, I always wanted a Beneteau 440, and now, I just had to put Bruce Willis on it for 10 minutes, and now I get a Beneteau 440. Yeah, overall, not a great film. If you want to do that movie and do it poorly like you did it, just make more stuff blow up and die.
Yeah, it couldn't decide if it wanted to be the smart spy movie or the action rip 'em up adventure. It was an unsatisfying version of both, unfortunately.
Did it matter that Richard Gere was Irish and part of the IRA?
No, but it was fun that he got to play with it.
Yeah, I just don't know why we needed him to do an Irish accent.
But he kept the accent the whole time.
He did, and I don't
Shout
think
out to him.
It was not atrocious.
No,
it was not
good.
impressive, but it was not atrocious. For
having fun with
1997, for all of us Americans who'd never been to Russia or to Ireland, we'd probably like, yeah, that's 100% Richard
I've been
Gere.
to Ireland. It's beautiful.
I love Ireland.
Oh, finally we get to a country you do enjoy.
Oh my God. IMDb 6.4, Rotten Tomatoes 24%.
That's quite the disparity, I feel like.
Richard Ebert 1.5 out of 4.
Ricardo.
Did I say Richard? Letterboxd 2.9 out of 5. Let's go to the Rotten Tomatoes really fast, because obviously the 24 is the critic. 51% public. What do you think the alternate ending is?
I think the alternate ending starts at minute 5. It's just a completely different 1 hour and 55 minutes of the movie.
All right, I'm looking up alternate versions. The Australian theatrical version omitted the shot where the jackal shoots off the dude's arm.
That part also made no sense. For him to leave like that gigantic of a mess, this big exploded car and this carcass of a man that immediately draws the authorities to figure out who is this guy, and then they find his little weapon station and they find the plans. That seemed pretty egregious to me.
Oh, I'm watching the alternate ending right now.
You want to just describe it out loud? I don't want to watch it. I just want to hear you describe it. Put it on like
Well, the
double
jackal's
speed.
on its knees. I need it to be like triple speed because it's 6 minutes long here.
Quadruple speed. Who has time for this?
I think the difference is just who kills him. Oh yeah, she shoots him in the head. I bet you that's it. All right, you're taking up too much of my time. She's hugging Richard Gere.
Okay, they're in the subway.
Oh, that's just it. They just don't. They don't do the alternate ending. Didn't do Richard Gere shooting him. So they had to get rid of the woke ending.
Richard Gere has to go and shoot him dead as he pulls a second gun out. In this ending, we don't have that. It's just
apparently.
She shoots
I think
them
that's about it.
Okay.
Not a very good alternate ending. All right. We'll be back in a week. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. Me and Mike have to sit down and discuss it. What we're going to do. It might be we talk about the rehearsal. It might be that we just talk about whatever the hell we watch.
Just sit down and talk about my thoughts.
It might
my thoughts.
It might be Micah yelling at me for putting him on Wiki Feet with the camera shot that I gave him today. It could be a lot of things.
I don't. My feet are not my best feature.
All right. Before we shout out Michelle, anything else?
Stay gold.
Stay golden, Pony Boy. Shout out to Noobs.